Hey, Michael. This is really amazing. It's been, I think, 30 years since the two of us actually um, have seen each other physically. You know, we've
Could
talked
be.
on Zoom, talked on the phone, but it's almost 30 years. And so that's what the fireworks are about, to celebrate our reunion here. Anyway, what happened is you started talking to me about some really important stuff,
Yeah,
and I thought I would really love to get a recording of it.
happy to do that.
So, you mentioned this guy Kazriel and a few
Sure.
other things, and the Native
Sure.
Americans. I just want to let you launch in and say whatever you
Okay.
feel like.
But I'll do a mild preface, and that is to greet you, for me, is to greet somebody who I've always felt was a kindred spirit. Again, even though, I knew of your activities, I didn't know that much of your private life. I knew a bit, you know, and and you didn't know that much about mine. But part of your work, I've always admired, and you think you were among the people that I knew, the rare few, who actually saw that we were in an environmental crisis, and they responded to that. I have a good friend in Canada, same thing, and he's very sort of, okay, no, don't talk about that. Say, well, listen, I was there with you in the '70s, late '70s. I saw and read things, the Club of Rome report, the thing about non-renewable resources, different things beyond just water pollution and air pollution. Something deeper about the whole, and how the whole thing was not working. And I said to him, you did something about it. You started this organization in Canada. You brought in people from all around the world to come there and say, hey, I got a problem with my water. Can you guys help me fix it? So you researched and went around, and you did it. You responded, and that was like a no big deal. Like you weren't sure that you were ever going to get an income from that. It wasn't like a guaranteed high return on your investment. So that's a kind of devotion. And it is, in addition to devotion, it's a response to what you see is a crisis. So to me,
The investment doesn't bear any returns until future generations.
you've had some fun. Come on. You smile as much as anybody
Thank
I
you.
know.
Those kind of returns, yeah. But I want to see, we want to see it cleaned up. Anyway, keep going. You're on a roll.
Okay, so I was talking before. So anyway, that's my kinship with you, and that you've, in Siberia and in the former Soviet Union, the places you visit with with the different native peoples there, and what you've done also back in the North America with people there. I share that, and I know a bunch of Native American. I know a bunch of projects, and that is going to be part of this project. That for me, that is a big part of this project. That is the root. And I feel good that I'm very clear about that. The roots come from these people, from the Hopis, from, in particular, and I have been making contact with, 10 years ago I had contact with the Hopi, former tribal chairman, and now I have another contact with the Hopi. And the Hopis are elegant when it comes to...
The people of peace.
So, but, different things. And so I'm sure I've read enough, seen enough, read enough of your book, read enough of the things, or heard some of the things that are online. I know we share a lot in terms of this is the groove. That's the groove that, the advancement of culture has taken us away from and obliterated. The clarity, it's as simple as that, So we've lost that. And, one of your mentors, Joanna Macy, and Fran Macy too, but Joanna's so elegant, and in her many ways, she articulates the beauty of that. She's such a deep, phenomenal being, that when
Absolutely
she
phenomenal.
talks, And she has this funny croaky voice, but at the same time, she's like dressed up sometime in these costumes. And, she's like our sun goddess or something like that. And, and I think she's probably one of the most intelligently, and knowledgeable person that I've ever heard in my life. But of course, I'm interested in the things that she is interested in. So, your connection with her too is just, you're in the next generation or something like that. So we have to follow through for her here too.
Right on.
Yeah. So what I was saying about before, of people who were sort of my influences, I was talking about this Dr. Daniel Kazriel, a psychiatrist who was analyzed by Gardner, who was analyzed by Freud, and he talked about his analysis like the guy never even spoke to him. He spoke to him once a year when he went on vacation. He said, "Have a nice summer, Dr. Kazriel," and I said, "Have a nice summer, Dr. Gardner." And that's all he said. Anyway, I don't know. He was a funny guy too, Kazriel. So, amongst all this thing, he was this kind of balding Jewish guy, very smart.
And you might think he was a snowflake, but he was anything but.
No, he was a heavy hitter when it came to it. So he was interested in, he was the first psychiatric director of the first therapeutic community. Those are very specific labels, a residential therapeutic community, which was in Staten Island, called Daytop Village, for drug addiction. He was the first one, and then there were other Daytops in Manhattan, Bronx, upstate. Daytop was well known, and then there were other, this house, that house, were all, and the therapeutic community was really the first effective treatment milieu for addiction. They weren't that good for like individual therapy or something like that. They needed groups, and they actually needed to really go slow, and rewire themselves, sort of, with the help of others. So he was the first psychiatric director of this, and if you looked at him, sat next to him on the train, you said, "Not this guy." No, you couldn't be doing that. But before that, he went out to the West Coast and they let him join this therapeutic community run by Chuck Diedrich, who became famous. And Chuck Diedrich was a very, very smart, hard-nosed guy, totally in your face. And he was a heroin addict. So this was his way of contributing.
You mean he got off
heroin by creating this program.
So it was his way out, and he helped a lot of people in the process.
He was the leader of it. And they devised certain things about, they called it angry concern and loving concern. That they took the guys and they confronted them. They said, "Well, wait a second." Because, and here's the description, as addicts or living an addictive lifestyle, they learned to con. That's how they survived. They learned to con. So they were all cons, so they couldn't out-con each other. So that was we should put Donald Trump in a room with these guys.
You cannot bullshit a good bullshitter.
No, you cannot, And if there wasn't this guy, then that guy, and that guy, and this girl, and whatever. So and Daniel Kazriel was willing to, face the fire, go through that, and they played with him too. "Hey guy, hey grandpa," whatever. So he came out of that experience, and then he created his own therapeutic community in New York. And I was telling you about one of the concepts that I learned from him that was never heard of it before, was about bonding.
Yeah.
Now, we've heard the term, now this was in 1980, late 1970s, 1980.
Yep.
He's talking about bonding. And bonding was, for him, it was an experience that humans could have. And he said that bonding was a biological need. And I'll explain what bonding is. Bonding is with you and another person, the coexistence of emotional openness. I'm relaxed, I'm present, I'm not agitated, I'm really present, I'm with you, I'm here, I'm calm. and physical closeness. Didn't have to be on top of you. It could be sexual, it could be, romantic, and physical could be part of it. It could be distracting that physical. Because it's primarily an emotional kind of exchange that can be, again, enhanced by touch or whatever. It's an emotional exchange. And so if you have two people who are both emotionally open and they're physically close, they can nourish each other. There's an exchange that happens in it, and I know, another teacher of mine, Gershon Kaufman, he talked about the interpersonal bridge. That was his construct, which is, that when you have relationship in particular and build relationship, but again, you can construct it in 2 minutes. You feel the bridge, you're connected now. There'd be other psychological terms like merging is a psychological term that fits with that. So you're together, you're with each other, and
I like bonding because it doesn't necessarily, there's a very good sense of there's me and there's you and there's us. Whereas in merging, it could be misconstrued as being a little bit boundarylessness, which is fine ultimately, but there's something very mammalian about bonding. So I love the term.
Yeah. But with merging, you also appreciate that along with merging there's opposite of that is when you separate and you become autonomous. So even in you and I have this conversation, we can feel like we're beginning to merge and we're coexisting and living in this interpersonal. But at a certain time, we're going to get up and go. So it's helpful, even if we're going to go to the car or whatever, it's going to break things a bit. So it's also healthy to be able to, I forget the term right now, but it's, to disengage. So that I can be autonomous and then go off and be myself, by myself, and, without any injury or, I can feel, I'm going to miss you or something. But so the thing about Dan and what he said about this, he said it's a biological mean, which means that you need it. It's for your well-being. It's like eating, breathing, and your other biological needs, you can tell they're biological because they help your health,
Like
and survival.
And sleep.
Sleep. And if they're interrupted, you get symptoms. So if you don't pee,
Right.
and you're going to pee, but you don't pee, you start to get symptoms, If you don't sleep, you get symptoms. If you don't eat. So they also have a periodicity. So you eat, and then after a while you want to eat again, and then you sleep, and there's a periodicity to it. So the same is true, he would say, for bonding. And if you, just like I said with the urination or defecation, if you're constipated or whatever, you start to have symptoms, and they can be physical, and then they can manifest as emotional and psychological and mental symptoms. So in order you need to fulfill your needs. And this need for bonding is a need. It's not like a good thing. It's a necessary thing.
Essential.
Exactly. He said it's not precious like diamonds, it's essential like water. Good phrase, huh? He's a smart guy, this guy, And he had so many funny stories of working in groups and stuff. But so he came out with that. And I'm like 31 years old or something like that. And I'm in training with this guy. And I said, shit, that's deep.
That's deep, and
That's
it's important
deep,
to me.
And that he's talking about. That's not a good thing. It's an essential thing, And he was very beautiful at describing that and describing different things. He really was, because he knew it, he discovered it in whatever way he did, and he knew it. So that's about Dan Kazriel and bonding. Unfortunately, he got, I think it's autolateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, and he gradually, his nervous system just dissipated. So I went to visit him kind of on a weekly basis because of my position in his institute at that time. So I was a witness to that Yeah, now I'm sad even thinking about it. And and also in that strange situation, I was a very young person. I had certain responsibilities in this institute that were sort of beyond my skill and experience level, but that's the way it was. And but so I did what I could to, with the help of other people, to just kind of keep it going, basically, because Dan was going, and then Dan was gone.
So what we're talking about here, and the reason that I wanted to get this on tape,
Yeah.
is that we're talking about legacy here, and you're
Right.
essentially telling whoever is listening to this about this guy who affected you deeply, and who also was talking about some really critical stuff for human spiritual and emotional development. And interestingly enough, Michael, you started off talking about Native Americans, and I'm just wondering, and the original people, I'm wondering in the next, few minutes as we close this down,
I can circle
if
back.
you can if you could connect the two in any way that you think makes sense, like whatever comes off the top.
Okay, so one of my attractions to this was its simplicity. And but not just, oh, simple, that's easy to remember. It's like, hey, this is true. It's simple and true. And a lot of things are like that, I find. If you try to oversimplify them, you mess it up. But if you blur the truth of them, they're really true. It's not so complicated. So how it relates, I think, with even the bonding. It's a basic need. It's simple. You got to do this, and to be healthy, and you got to do it in community to be healthy. So I was talking before about, as a child in California, being exposed to Native American writings and people who were very educated in Native American ways, writings. As a 10-year-old, even 11-year-old, I was very attracted because, and I'll make the simple description, that it stays with me, for 60 years later, is the description that we are a part of a whole. This is the description of what it is, what is our life, what is our tribe, what are our people. We are part of a whole with a place in its purpose, which gave me belonging and an explanation. I said, wow, that fits, and I can get with that, and I'm a kid, I can get with that, yeah. And I felt that way towards my classmates and whatever, and it reinforced, yeah, we're just a gang, and to respect, and there was a big element of respect. So all of the whole, you don't, I am over here, but I'm a part of there and there. So and they talk very much about, the rocks or the trees or things in nature. We're a part of that. So you don't, I know there are other things about, you don't destroy the water. You are the part of the water. So you don't destroy it and it also brought to me a way of respect. And I guess if I parallel that with Dan Kazriel and what he thought, there were certain things he said. Yeah, to respect the truth of that and to know it's so for you and for others. It's not just for me that this world is manifested. It's for others. So I also found a comfortable explanation that I had relation to all these things and I had relation to these people. And again, to respect them. They're different than me. Some of the people, some of the kids, I didn't get along with this. But I think there was only one kid that I really never could reconcile myself with. But all of the others, we're different, but we're part of the whole.
And you and I met in the context. Our original meeting was the Council of All Beings in deep ecology. So this is what I'm hearing from you, is sort of this bonding with people and bonding with nature.
Yes.
As one singular whole.
Exactly. So that, that ceremony that you led us all to participate in upstate New York, with John Seed present, who was one of the originators of this. And Joanna Macy was not there, but I later found, and I know she's a mentor of
The
yours.
brainchild of that event.
Yeah, the
She's
two of them
the two
created
of-
that event. They had some help from some others. So that's when deep ecology was being labeled, the deep ecology, a deeper way of looking at it. And it was an extraordinary event. And it was it was like an experiential therapeutic event in the presence of nature, and bringing, by making pictures and by taking the identity each of us, chose something in nature, a pine tree, a rock, a fish, a raccoon, a cloud, and made masks. And everybody made a mask, and then they came into council. And if you had some connection with Native American, ways, they sat in council. And I also learned from that, Americans and whatever, they have I'm part of the student council. But no, they sat in a circle, and they had a way of conducting the meeting. And I find that, later on in life, duplicated in so many, the most powerful experiences of people together happen in circles, whether it's, recovery from, sexual disorders, or, this or that, or, or just just to make contact. The circle is an extraordinary vehicle.
The circle is an
And I know you know
extraordinary vehicle. No, it needs to be repeated over and over and over. In a world of squares, we need more circles. And so, anything that you'd like to tell briefly to future generations? Here we are. The fireworks are going off. We're in the harbor of City Island. It's a crazy, chaotic, wacko world we're living in. And I don't expect anything deep. I just wondered what the first thing comes
Without
after.
words for that.
Just what's the first thing that just pops out of your head?
In democracy, what's being repeated is that you need to always be conscious. You always need to work to have it. You don't create it and then you sit in it. You have to constantly work and evaluate and retune it and keep building it. You cannot take like a couple of years off.
Somebody smart said it takes constant vigilance, eh?
Okay, right there.
All right, buddy. This has been
But you
wonderful.
can have a little bit of a break. from
You
time
can
to
have a
time.
break and you can have lots of fun, right?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Part of it. Have a good democracy. We have lots of fun.
Vigilantly fun.
Woo-hoo-hoo!